Good afternoon. When Ben asked me to do this, I kind of struggled a little bit. I wasn't sure how to do a testimonial in that we're, 2 years? Are we officially into our third year on this? I'm not sure, somewhere like that. But anyway, I mean, the primary deliverables I think that most members have been interested in are probably the long-term research initiatives, and those were essentially just completed, or most of them were completed during the last paving season. So, there's really nothing to reap from that yet. I know there's been some T-squared initiatives, I think a few webinars or things like that. But I thought probably a better way to present this would be to talk about the things that make MnROAD attractive to start with. And first, just talking about the credibility, or just the fact that you have this facility here. Now, I've been here, I think, about eight or nine times over the years, and actually the first time I was here was the year before it even opened, I think around '93, and I know that the opening had been delayed, I think, a year because of the historic flooding that we were having in '93, '94 in the Midwest, which a lot of you remember. But every time I've been here, the little green monster rears its ugly head, and I start thinking, this isn't fair. Why don't we have one of these? And I kind of get over that, and I realize, well, at least we have something like this in our region, and I've used people at MnDOT. I get involved in a lot of standard and specification writing exercises over the years, and I know a lot of you have done the same thing. And the first thing you do is you try to steal as much as you can from another state. And time again, I've probably gone back to Minnesota more than any other. So I have a warm, fuzzy feeling getting involved with an initiative with Minnesota just because of the history that you have, and especially the fact that you have this place here. The other thing too is you have you have consistently acquired data and information. It's something that we can kind of count on, hang our hat, that if you start something here, you have the resources in place to continue and see all these efforts through. This is another area where I'm a little envious. You have the staff. I mean, we all wear different hats. I think some people were a little surprised yesterday when the rigid team leader, Brett Troutman, has to go over to the flexible side to give a presentation there. That's just how things are. I mean, we're forced to be jacks of all trades, Jacks and Jills of all trades, and in Missouri. And in here you have, more clearly defined roles, and I think that allows you, more, you can actually devote your time to really doing these research activities. I know Glenn and Ben and the others have been sensitive, I think overly sensitive, about not appearing to overwhelm the other states involved with this, in that they don't want to be perceived as trying to dominate the discussions and the research that we're doing. At least from my perspective, let me assure you that's not a problem. We're more than happy to, shift a lot of this burden to you guys, because you're set up to do it, and you have been excellent about, letting the states provide input. And it's been a very democratic process so far, and I certainly have nothing to complain about. I have no idea what John and Barry are going to talk about, but I would guess that they probably have a similar reaction to that. And then this is also pretty important. Is Buzz still here? Well, anyway. Oh, there he is. Sorry, right in front of me. Okay. NCAT. We've been involved with that over the years. Fantastic facility. You didn't need to hear me tell you that. But the one nagging issue we always had was, is everything here really representative of what's happening in Missouri? Now, if you look on a map, Missouri looks really to be pretty much halfway between Alabama and Minnesota. So you think, they're probably neutral on this. Unfortunately, we are a full-fledged member of the Wet Freeze Club. So, despite where we appear to be on the map, we have a lot of the same issues that Minnesota has. Our frost doesn't go coffin depth like it does here, but it's still, we do have precipitation. It does freeze in the winter. We do have freeze-thaw cycles. So We like the fact too that we had some test sections here that would be representative of what, or fairly representative of what we'd be going through too. I made a list here too, and somebody else could come up with a completely different list that's equally legitimate. And I think that's testament to just the number of products that come out of this. And when I talk about these, I just want to preface that with that. These aren't necessarily things that revolved completely around MnROAD or just sprung up as a result of it, but they're initiatives that really tapped into the data that's acquired through the MnROAD research, and couldn't have happened without that. I'll start out with one. This is the bonded concrete overlay on asphalt pool fund study, and then somebody had mentioned Julie Vandenbosch a little earlier. She was the lead principal investigator on this, and really did an excellent job. Took about, I don't know, where's Tom at, about 4 or 5 years to finally finish, but we did get a product. We also adapted it into the pavement ME design. I'm the chair of the product task force for that, so I'm involved in that arena as well. And it was great having that started here and develop and actually become a full-fledged model. And then in a similar vein, we followed up that with an unbonded concrete overlay pool fund study, nearly complete. Lev Kazanovich, who started here, of course, at the University of Minnesota and wound up at Pittsburgh with Julie, is the principal investigator on that, and that's about complete too. And it's incorporated some of the things we were interested in seeing because of the current interest by some states in doing the big block, the smaller panel design, and especially using the geotextile interlayers, and that really had not been modeled up to this point. Another thing too, and this is from the perspective of being on the ME Design Task Force, a lot of MnROAD data as well as NCAD and a bunch of different LTPP sections as well. That data went into the recent global recalibration of the flexible model, which will be coming out in the 2.5 version of the pavement ME design this July. And this is something people have been waiting for because the flexible models hadn't been recalibrated globally since I think about 2011 or so. Basically the point when the ME design transitioned to the kind of the research grade MEPDG over to the full-fledged production product, if you want to call it that, of the ME design. It'll, I think, fix some of the things that have been of concern, including some issues with the rutting model that a lot of people have been aware of. So hopefully this will correct some of those issues. And finally, too, and this is kind of like, maybe this seems like a weird one to throw in here, but the inertial profiler certification procedures, you do it, I'm not speaking out here, you do it at MnROAD, don't you? Okay, there you go, okay. Again, this is something else where I had to develop when we switched from using the profilograph index for our acceptance, smoothest acceptance criteria in construction to the International Roughness Index. I basically had to rewrite our procedures for that, and then also redo our certification procedures now that we're transitioning to using inertial profilers and measuring with IRI. And again, this is something where you look around and, well, who's got good procedures? And Minnesota had kind of tinkered with the AASHTO R56 standard, which covers certification procedures, and did some things that I liked, like reducing the number of profile runs, which they started at 10. I thought, we're not doing 10. Yeah, so you guys do 5. I thought, yeah, we could do that. And so that's something else that, like I said, it's an indirect benefit of MnROAD, but it's just something that doesn't happen unless you guys have this facility to develop and create, provide data for us. So it's just, I'm glad you guys are in this region. My boss, the state construction materials engineer, has been wanting to develop something close to MnROAD. I know it will never happen. I know we will never, ever dedicate the resources to make it happen. And that's just realistic. And in fact, I think talking to some MnDOT people, I think if you had to start today, it wouldn't happen for you either. So you guys, you struck at the right time, you got it done, and you've kept it going. And now you're, opening up this experience to other states as well. So, and finally, I just want to talk a little bit about, the research commitment that the NRRA is making. Like I said, it's a democratic process, and we have the the 4 technical committees, the executive committee, and it's very much a procedure where everyone is able to provide their input and be heard. And so I think in the end, everyone's fairly satisfied with the outcome and the project selection that goes on. And also, too, the fact that we can extend this beyond MnROAD. There is discussion about possibly we're going to be building a compacted concrete pavement section in Southwest Missouri. I mean, it's going to happen. It's part of an active project. And so we are looking at right now, evaluating whether or not within the NRRA, whether or not to kind of expand that, do some instrumentation on that test section. The expertise, I mean, we just don't have it. So you do, again, this goes back to the trained professional staff. You have people here that have done this for years, know what they're doing. It's much better than having somebody in our department fiddle around, for months trying to figure this out and then in the end fail anyway. So, we appreciate that. And finally, the fact that you will actually follow through. And I know, speaking from our experience, I'm sure other states can express the same thing. A lot of times you'll build an experimental section somewhere, and then whoever was directly involved with that will either promote to another position, retire, die, something. But anyway, as soon as that person is out of there, no one really follows up. And we've had so many of these test sections, and people come across it like 20 years later. It's like, wow, I didn't know we did that. Do we have any survey data? No, not since we built it, maybe 1 or 2 years after, and that's all you have to show for it. But to get that consistent data acquisition year after year and using the same level of quality for the data acquisition, I can't overstate how important that is, because it really is difficult for another DOT to do, unless they have the dedicated resources and staff and expertise to do it. So you're just set up real well here, so you can't beat it. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
All right, thanks, John. We got another John up next, John Senger from Illinois DOT. Just going to share some of his experiences as well. Let's welcome.
That's right.
Yep.
All right, good afternoon. So I apologize if you were down at the NCAT MnROAD the test track conference. Some of these slides might look a little familiar, but I had some goodies as well. So this was Illinois' original test facility. It was the Asho Road Test, which many of you are probably familiar with. There's still parts of it today that exist in Illinois. This is actually the environmental loop, so it looks more environmental than pavement these days, but it's still out there, and there's talk about trying to preserve some of this history in Illinois. So this is one of the reasons why we are so excited about working with MnROAD and NRRA, is the fact that we don't have something like this that we can use and benefit from. So, because you can see what happens when Illinois is in charge. So, it's beneficial to us. We gain a lot of knowledge and validate a lot of things that we are doing in Illinois. So access to MnROAD is extremely invaluable to us. It's a central location for the state agencies to converge and network. the staff has always been willing to assist and share their knowledge with the state DOTs. And MnROAD is involved and touches everything: smoothness, friction, pavement design, FWD calibration, pavement preservation. I'm sure I could keep going. And especially for the Midwest states, we've got a similar environment that is really beneficial to us. So as far as the flexible teams in Illinois, Illinois' current network is about 85% composite. So reflect the experiment and research with reflective cracking is very important to us. That overlay research on the bypass will be valuable to IDOT's network and our future decision trees, which I shared yesterday. And hopefully you've forgotten by now. Illinois is getting very interested in cold central plant and cold in place recycling. We're still working on finishing the development of our cold in place recycling for our state network. We definitely need to find a cost-benefit way to maintain our lower volume roads without having to do reconstruction. So this is of importance and interest to Illinois. This was our attempt at early opening. So this was actually a new technician that apparently got ahead of himself, and I don't know if he's still around. So, but Illinois is, we've built some unbonded concrete overlays recently, and recent projects with fibers. They're showing promising results, but we're hoping to gain more data and more validation from the research going on here at MnROAD. We also had just completed a research project on RCC, and came up with a design process, and we're hoping to get more validation from the data and research going on here at MnROAD. Geotechnical. Let's see. Sorry, this came to me last night. So, comparison of the subgrade thickness shown failure in the 9-inch section. This was consistent with IDOT's prediction in our subgrade stability manual, and it's validation of our current policies. Partnered with another research project conducting intelligent compaction of aggregate subgrades. This information was very valuable to IDOT staff, and continuing involvement may possibly lead to future policy in Illinois. So when we get on to pavement preservation, which I'm a part of, or member of, friend of, Illinois is drastically moving towards pavement preservation. Initially, we just kind of dipped our toe in the water, and over the years, we've gone from $800,000 a year to this year, we're putting out around $50 million worth of pavement preservation products. Illinois' current toolbox is large and continues to grow. I know a lot of this hasn't been put down at MnROAD, but it's been part of the NCAT MnROAD procedure or experiments. So we continue to work with those guys and closely monitor the preservation that's going on here at the MnROAD facility and CSH8 and 169. So the NRRA influence has helped to create a vast network. I know I've made a lot of connections here in the past couple days that I'm going to take back to Illinois and really help build things and improve things in Illinois. There's a large variety of in-place treatments, which we're constantly monitoring and trying to bring back data. The conferences and pooled fund meetings have always been very informative to all the participants, and technology transfer has been a major priority for the NRRA, which we find very valuable. We've always found the teams to be open to new ideas and looking for innovative solutions to the agency's problems. So, questions?
Best slide, John.
Thank you, George. This is what we all do it for. So, all right, thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, John. Up next, we have Barry Paye from Wisconsin DOT to let us know what they have going on there.
No presentation.
Gonna wing it.
Yep. I'm going to save you guys. No PowerPoint. And for those of you who heard me yesterday, this is the last time I'm speaking at the conference, so you all get a break after this. Besides the real break. Oh, that was a little too excited. I'm sorry. Hear that, Ben and Glenn? Yeah, cut me off here in future years. So I'll talk a little bit about how Wisconsin and MnDOT have partnered, and this is going to be a little actually beyond just the NRRA. We've worked with WisDOT and MnROAD ever since you guys opened up. We've been part of what you guys have been doing. We've paid in for every pooled fund you guys do involved in MnROAD in that. So we've got a long background. I love the fact that you guys have this because kind of like John said, there's no way in heck Wisconsin's ever building this. We tried to do once something like this with an old scale facility. Didn't work. It was gone and ripped out within 5 years. So this is really something that's great for us. Some of the highlights of things that we've learned from working with MnDOT, whether directly through MnROAD or through other partnerships, have been in the asphalt world, the low temperature cracking study. That was a key one. We finally got off our dead butt, I'm trying to think of what the clean words are to use here, and implemented some of that stuff about 3 years ago where we went with the minus 34 oils in our northern Wisconsin climates. So we finally moved forward and implemented some of that stuff. You guys have proven that very well that works. We partnered in the low temperature cracking study. That got us to have the DCT, where we're still working on where our spec limits may be with DCT, but we've partnered quite a bit with Ishan and probably your old iteration here, working on collecting some data and sharing some information with you. Sinusoidal rumble strips is something that you guys haven't really done at MnROAD, but it's something that you guys have in your spec, and we're actually going to do a job in the northwest part of our state here this coming year to look at see if that quieter rumble strip might be something we can use where people don't want to hear rumble strips near lakes and vacation property for some reason. So those are a couple in the asphalt world. Concrete, you guys have a really good concrete program here, and we've been learning a lot from it. Use of high performance concrete specs. We looked at some of the things that MnDOT did and implemented them in Wisconsin, whether it's the aggregate specs or trying to do reduced cementitious content, which is actually one of the test cells here in this current project. We're looking at that with optimized gradations in Wisconsin, and it'll be interesting to see how the MnDOT test cell mirrors what we've done with our research. We've followed you guys' lead. You guys have probably approved more dowel bars for use in Minnesota than any other state in the country. And we're right there behind you because after they knock on your door, they knock on my door. So we work with Julie at the University of Pittsburgh, but if we hear MnDOT's approved it, it's like, okay, this is probably going to be a no-brainer. We just got to do a little bit of work to get it in our pals. So we've worked with, similar process there. Let's see here. So unbonded concrete overlays, though, you guys are great at doing those on the interstate. I am still hoping before I retire that we build one in Wisconsin somewhere. It's just something that I know we'd love to do. Unfortunately, we have those nice 3-to-1 inslopes. That means we have a lot of earthwork to do if we're going to go up a foot to put an unbonded concrete overlay in. So aggregate world, this is a little bit more historic, but when you guys first built MnROAD, you guys had lysimeters in there and you were working with recycled aggregate bases and that. We were looking at leachate and those types of tests. That's something that helped us working with our recycled aggregate bases as well. Still looking at those properties. We still haven't learned everything there is to do with recycled aggregate bases. But overall, in terms of research with partnering with MnROAD, I would say IOH implements a husbandry. We partnered together with Iowa and all that. We have a full-on permitting process, which our farmers just love, but yet I'm still having oversized, overweight equipment on my roads during spring thaw. So we haven't fully solved it yet, but I know we've worked together on that. We really, listening to what's been going on in the concrete, in the aggregate, in the preservation studies here yesterday, I've been fully involved on the asphalt side as the chair of the asphalt committee or the flex committee. A lot of that stuff I'm hearing in those studies are stuff that we can directly take back to Wisconsin and use. and implement or tweak specs with. So I'm looking forward to that. Maintenance overlays, though, I mean, John, you said it, both states have said it, we're doing a lot of overlays on concrete. What's out there right now on that bypass is going to tell us a lot about where we want to go with overlay specs. The emphasis on tech transfer, I think, is going to be huge. And I think it's really going to start ramping up for this work through NRRA here in the next year or two. Now that we've got things built, we can focus our energies more on let's share our stories among states. Let's share some highlights of innovations, and let's share what we're learning here at MnROAD. So I'm really looking forward to that part of it. That early opening strength of concrete study. I love the fact that we were able to do that here at MnROAD. We can build some stuff here at MnROAD to fail. You got ways of moving traffic around when it does fail with the bypasses or even on the low volume roads. So even, that one cell, I know you're not very happy with it, but the cold central plant recycling where we had some problems. Well, we pushed the spec. A double chip seal isn't exactly a normal riding surface on top of anything. It's a chance to take a risk and see how far we can go with something. But I would say, and then that partnership that you guys have here between NCAT and MnROAD, I mean, that was huge for us. I almost jumped out of my cube when I heard that partnership was going to happen, because the way NCAT sets up experiments, but having that cold weather environment to do it, just works so well. So that preservation and cracking group study, we are keeping a very close eye on it, because right now we're just like a lot of other states. We're in preservation mode, and we got to do better jobs with preservation, better jobs with early life preservation, like you had said this morning, Buzz. That's really where we're going to be locking into the key, and I need to come up with answers for how long is X going to last, how long is Y going to last. These studies are going to feed right into our specification model, so we know what we're doing. And I can have my pavement engineers and maintenance engineers have some good ideas of where these treatments will last if you do it early versus when you do it late. So all of these things together are really a great partnership. That's why I'm always willing to help out anytime MnDOT asks, and I'm always willing to do anything that involves MnROAD, because I know we're going to get a good returnable product that's going to be useful to us here in Wisconsin. So I appreciate working with you guys, and then the collaboration we have with these other state partners, getting to talk to Missouri and Illinois and Caltrans and a couple of the other partners here. There's stuff we're learning here as well. So it's great. Keep it going. Let me know what I can do to help out. So thanks.
So I'll get a big cheer like Barry did. This is my last talk too, so please applaud. Come on, where's the applause? One thing I want to do here, John Roberts, Sahil Nazarian, Dave White, Luke Pinkerton, John Donahue, John Senger, and Barry Paye. I am buying at the reception afterwards. So whatever you guys want to drink. I mean, you guys were amazing, all the testimonials. It's just... I got a text from Jeff. He says, we need to record all this stuff and show it to our top staff, what's going on here. So, no, I really, really, really appreciate it. So I'm gonna keep us on time here. Let's see, next slide. This is a picture from our grand opening last year. We had the giant ribbon to cut. Every time I look at this cloud, I think of 2 years ago when we started this, and we're up to over 50 organizations. It's amazing. It really is. I had no idea. I think Terra was the previous organization, was up in the 30s, I think, some maybe 20s. Ben's shaking his head. 12, Ben? Anyways, it's amazing. But beyond that, I look at resources and I look at people. There's a lot of smart people here. If we all work together, we can solve these problems. There's huge problems, and there's huge pressures too. How much money we got? Minnesota again tried hard. We took another swing, and it looked like we had a swing and a miss with getting some funding for roads and bridges. But we got to do the best we can with the money we got. So I really believe with my heart that this group will make a difference in the future. So. Some of you have seen that picture before. I have the same haircut. I probably had more hair back then. I don't know. but I show this because in the background you can see the sandbox. The famous sandbox was big when I was a kid. Everybody had their sandbox. And my analogy is that MnROAD is our sandbox. And it's always more fun when you got your buddies that come over and play in the sandbox and have fun. So that's what we're really trying to accomplish here. So I'll talk a little bit about the future. We had a really good meeting. Our executive committee are the state members, and we spoke. We had North Dakota there because I'm also buying you a beer, Amy, if you hang around. Amy's from North Dakota, and we want to fill in the boxes. You see the map of all the states, and North Dakota's right there. Just natural, they should be a member. So we had a really good meeting yesterday, very open, very transparent. We talked about some difficult issues related to continuing the experiment and funding. We basically agreed to a 2-year extension. Pooled funds go to 3 years. We're going to go to 5. We talked about how much that would cost the agency's associates. I can't divulge that right now, but it was very positive. It was very positive. I really appreciate all the states and again having that open, transparent discussion. It was great. What we're also looking at doing is sending out a request for proposals to get everybody more involved, especially our associates. And we're looking at just sending out a statement like we need better patching materials for either it's asphalt or concrete. So people will put in what they think, what they like to do, etc. This is really in the embryonic stages, but we really want to, like it says there, really want to leverage and maximize the resources that I just talked about. The last thing we must implement, obviously, like I said yesterday, we're always getting pressure, and it's all the states involved. Okay, you did all this great research, you got MnROAD. Like was said earlier, originally it was like $24 million to build it. Today it would